Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This week what we're doing is another one of our walks. So this one we are doing a walk trying to do from Tynemouth, which is the furthest east coast, the sort of like coastal part of Newcastle. So his own place. Before I get in the comments, there's a coastal suburb. It's not a coastal suburb. But we're going to go to Tynemouth. I'm going to try and go all the way to Carlisle, obviously, so it's going to be broken down into a lot of smaller bits. So this first part we're doing from Tynemouth all the way into Newcastle. So this is around 7 miles as the crow flies. But if you're walking sort of the route along the river, this comes out to be around 22 kilometres. So that's where we start, in Tynemouth. And we'll just go from there, and I'll sort of explain some of the sort of planning history and some of the key sites along the route, and sort of just tell any fun facts or any cool things you see on this route. So yeah. So obviously if you're doing this route, the best way to go is to get to Tynemouth Metro and then go from there. This route is all completely on the metro line, so if anything does go like wrong or you just want to leave, you can't commit to it, you can just abandon ship, which is always good. I always think that's a good idea for any route. Just say if the weather changes, just always good to have a way to get out. Tynemouth Metro station itself is quite an icon. I've not actually got much footage of it here, but this was actually meant to be destroyed when they started building the metro system, but I think the residents of Tynemouth actually came together to save it, which is really quite great because it's a lovely building, and every Saturday they host a market there, which if you've ever been down, it's a lovely place to go, and it's a great atmosphere to have a market in. The main thing you see really in Tynemouth is when you get to the coast, we were going to start this walk on the piers, but when it's bad weather, or I think also due to social distancing sometimes, they've closed the Tynemouth piers. So we start pretty much at the base of the pier, and we walk along the coast down towards the mouth of the River Tyne. The key building along here that you see is the Sir James Knox Memorial Flats. It's just very bland architecturally, but that's the style it was going for. The rumour of this building is always that during World War II, the German air forces were told not to bomb it as they wanted to turn this into the North East HQ for the Nazi Party. So as you continue round, you get more towards North Shields now, and then you get down to the Fish Quay area. The Fish Quay area is just lovely. It's going through massive regeneration. I'd say it's sort of North Shields' answer to like the Ouseburn style regeneration, with like businesses and eateries have been down there with some sort of industrial uses still there, with obviously the gut, and that's where the a lot of ships still go out from there. So you've got fresh fish coming in. A lot of fish restaurants, fish and chip takeaways, of course. It's just really up and coming area for sort of North Shields. A lot of developments planned around here, and a lot of changes they want to bring to it. So, as with Ouseburn, it's quite important they try and keep the sort of character it has. It's because it's got quite a unique character to it itself. But yeah, a lot of private flats being built around here, and as you can see, some of the flats here are very nice. Then as you come along further, the next noticeable thing you come into is just sort of the edge of North Shields sort of town centre. So this is where there's a lot of flats, private flats built on the riverside. Some of these are like 80s, 90s styles. They look nice and they have a lovely view, but often they have quite small windows, so I do wonder what the view is like out and if they're actually quite light and spacious inside. So as you come further down, what the next major thing you see is the regeneration sites. So these former graving docks around here are being regenerated by a company called Urban Splash. And they have these, what they call row houses. I hate the word row houses, it's an American term for sort of a terrace street. But these townhouses, terrace houses they've built here look lovely, and they've got some lovely flats overlooking the river. I think it's won several design awards, just because it's quite like distinctive, nice architecture. And the sort of the curvature of these townhouses as they go up is lovely as well. I bet these have great views, and they seem very light and spacious. I'll include some of the concept art that was posted on as you come around further, what you're on now is you're quite raised away from the river, so whilst this is a river time walk, you do stray quite far away from the river at several points. As you go around the corner, so as you enter around here, what you enter is another regeneration site. This is the Royal Quays Marina. This has Newcastle's regular ferry service to Amsterdam. It also has a cruise ship terminal here. I don't think there's any regular scheduled cruise ships here, but a lot of do come here to get serviced or make a one-off stop on the river. As we arrived, there was this huge cruise ship that docked up on the riverfront. That was really cool to see. A lot of this upper part of the site we don't actually walk through was regenerated by the Tynemouth Development Corporation. This was one of their key sites. I think this was a massive industry site that had fallen vacant, and also the Tynemouth Development Corporation that I featured in my Quayside regeneration video. They came in here and sort of built a lot of new houses. They built the Wet and Wild water park, which you'll see later, and a lot of things like North Shields County Court. Royal Quays Outlet, I think, came a bit later than all this. So there's a lot of things that came into this sort of site to regenerate it. So this is when the footpath completely loses the river. You end up going northward, away from what is the river, and you sort of have to... This is the worst part of the walk, really. You go up past Wet and Wild. Wet and Wild, I think, closed 1 year ago. This was just sort of, I think it went out of business, not enough trade, and I think COVID as well didn't help. They closed for a major refurbishment because it had got to quite a poor state, I've heard, but it's never reopened since. So now one of these sort of regeneration projects that were meant to sort of save North Shields, providing new jobs, ended up actually now closing. So it's quite ironic in that sort of way that the thing that was meant to save an area closes. This is just roundabout city as you end out here. I didn't include much footage of this because you're sort of walking along almost the dual carriageway out. From here, what you get to is the Tyne Tunnel. So the Tyne Road Tunnel actually runs through here, and this is the next sort of major notable thing you get. A lot of derelict land in this location, and the Tyne Tunnel sort of cuts through the site, and again, all around this Tyne Tunnel on the other side as well, it's just massively derelict land. Nothing really happening building wise around here, and this sort of cycle route, this is a national cycle route, and I know that name doesn't actually mean that much in the UK. It is just quite poorly maintained around here, and it would be great to see some uses brought in, but obviously... So this is where you go through Howden, so this part of the national cycle route is just really on a street. It's almost like it flowing through your residential neighbourhood.
But we're really getting somewhere now.
Do you reckon? It is marked with paint, of course. You can't have too good cycle infrastructure in here. But yeah, you flow through sort of some house and estates, and eventually you come through the other side, and what you get to is an exact replica of the Ouseburn Bridge. So these two bridges were built by the same architect for the sort of Tyneside electrics. So it's an exact same design as the Ouseburn Bridge. This one has a bit of a better setting because it's not penned in by the City Stadium. It's got a better colour scheme as well because it's kept its actual original green look. So then this is when you come up and you're flowing along into Wallsend now. You've got the metro station of Hadrian Road, and this is when the cycle route's now flowing along the main road. So as you can see, we're miles away from the river because a lot of this river is just industrial land. Some of it's still very derelict, some of it's still in use. I believe there's some undersea cable companies around here and that sort of use. And then what you get to at the end of this road is where the old, I believe there's an old railway line. So a lot of the rest of this route now back into Newcastle follows a disused railway line. So this is why you're so segregated from the road and so segregated from the river. And it has a lot of bridges over sort of different roads and different access links. So what you are is quite isolated from the river itself and from the roads. I wouldn't want to go down this route late at night. Whilst it does have street lighting in a number of places, it doesn't really, it's not overlooked. It doesn't have the safest feeling to it. I do wish this was better maintained, as this is like the main cycle route from Tynemouth. As you get to the end of this path, you do then go into Wallsend. Notable about Wallsend is, hence its name, Wallsend. It's where Hadrian's Wall actually came to an end. So you've got Sedgenham Roman Fort. Obviously, as with all with Hadrian's Wall, it's the UNESCO World Heritage Site, built into what's almost Wallsend Town Centre, which is just quite strange to see this sort of World Heritage Site just in a town centre. And as you follow around further, what you get is more industrial sites on your left. I think Newcastle University have a site here. As you continue along the route further, this part of the walk isn't really that enjoyable. You're just going through sort of derelict sites and industrial sites. It's the way everything here turns its back on this cycle route. Then you come to the first sort of regeneration housing estate here in Walker. This is where they're trying to, what they claim to be positive gentrification, sort of diversifying Walker's housing mix by providing more privately owned homes, because Walker has a high amount of socially rented homes. And as you go further out now, you get into Walker Riverside Park. This has the potential to be a great riverside park, and again it's let down by poor maintenance, a lot of poor urban design features. A space can change how people act in it, and I think this place, by being so segregated, so far away from everyone, with no overlooking, no real uses down here, you're encouraging people to come down here and use this and abuse this space. This part of the river is quite strange. On the south side of the river, you have some sort of major industrial uses still, which you can actually see banking on the river still. A lot of stuff is set back from the river, but this is obviously still on there. Always reminds me of sort of Get Carter vibes of when you can see in Newcastle in the 70s. And as you come along here, you now have this sort of like, again, a promenade running along the length of the river up into St. Peter's. And this, again, poorly maintained, lots of potholes, lots of sort of localized flooding. But this could be a real nice route into the city centre from sort of Walker area. On the south side of the river, just before you get to St. Peter's, is quite nice. You have some flats and a boat launching area. These flats look really nice and quite high quality, and it's quite good to see this on Gateshead side as well. So then you get to St. Peter's. St. Peter's is another Tynemouth Development Corporation project. This one, I believe, was built in 1986-89. But they put in a marina and a lot of houses, and these are just really well designed. They respond really well to the riverfront. The marina itself is really nice, and it creates quite a nice area within it. There's a restaurant within the marina as well. I've never been, but it looks really nice. It sits there overlooking it. And just recently they've opened sort of a shack near the bridge. St. Peter's was obviously the Tynemouth Development Corporation trying to provide new uses for this riverside. Have to go away from the river again. As with a lot of these routes, you're pushed away from the river every time there's sort of a use in the way. It would be great if they could get a proper continuous riverside path, but obviously with industrial uses and people still wanting to use the riverfront, it is quite difficult. So you have to then go into I'd call this the edge of Byker. I'd call it South Byker if I was to call it anything, just outside St. Peter's Basin. And what you get to is the site for the YI. I know I've been saying this for a while, but I'm going to cover this in sort of an Ouseburn video. I'm sort of putting a lot of work into that at the minute, just to sort of capture a lot of what's happening in the Ouseburn at the minute, because I feel there's a lot going on, and I want to sort of do that justice. But yeah, you get to the site of where it's the UK's tallest observation wheel, potentially the world's tallest observation wheel will be, just outside Byker, just outside St. Peter's Basin, along the quayside. I don't really agree with this project at all. I think Newcastle, does need more tourist attractions, needs more things to bring it here. And observation wheels within themselves can be good if they're well designed. Say, look at the London Eye. I'd even go as far and say the Dubai Eye is well designed. And these sort of Ferris wheels they're an attraction. They will bring people down to the quayside. So this site is just really weird to be putting this on. And this whole car park you enter now, this is where the YI is going to be, and it's going to have units up to here. And I think PFP Igloo, who do the Ouseburn regeneration, I want to build on the car park of the cycle hub as well. So it'll be interesting to see this site in a few years. It's going to massively change. So then we finish this walk by getting to the Ouseburn. Once again, I finish a walk by getting to the Ouseburn. We're going to try and pick this up. I'm not sure when, but when I next get the chance, because as you start getting further away, you can't really do this as it's during lockdown. So when we have an opportunity to travel further, I would like to go all the way to the other side of the country doing this. So yeah, but thanks for watching. Expect to see sort of more from this series of doing walks and sort of talking about the history along the way. This one is a little bit different due to the fact that this riverside route doesn't actually pass that much historic buildings or that much planning that I'm that well versed on, just due to the fact it being quite segregated away from the river and quite segregated away from a lot of the towns that I would know more about. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.